So, everybody, I'm still not quite settled, but there's some really important things that people need to know. And for me, 3 years in Texas was horrible. Um, when I first got out of the snow, I moved into a place that nicer people owned it, and I enjoyed the pool and roller skating and things, but I didn't really get a chance to look at my surroundings. But unfortunately for me, the nice people that owned it left, and then this horrible company bought where I lived. And these were supposed to be pretty semi luxury apartments on Medical Drive, where the doctors and the nurses used to reside. And, they commanded this really high level of living. And over time, it just isn't. So here's their lobby and their, you know, um, what do you call it? Their main, office. And they present it as luxury living. And beside this place, on the other side of that wall, they have a public pool table where people can go shoot pool. And then beyond that is this pool. And the pool has a waterfall and it looks beautiful. But instead of conducting themselves like adults, the pool is more of a place where kids jump off the waterfalls, and people that have been there have been the lowest class. They've even washed baby diapers and done just unbelievable things that I never expected in a complex this way. And they're calling it stylish living and enjoy being home. This is a picture of the gym. And in that gym, there are now people that live there that bring their children. And this is a tiny little gym. It looks big and spread out, but it's not. It's very narrow and it only has a handful of pieces of equipment. But it's so great that you had it there because you didn't have to leave if you just wanted to go for a walk or jog or lift some weights. But you can't be there and be having children rolling balls in the middle of it and interrupting your workout, and you're scared you're going to run into them and whatever. It's not a place for minors, and there's nobody that supervises. And here is the pool. And they present it as there's two pools. This is one that's only, I think, about 4 or 4.5 feet wide. And what happens is, over this waterfall, if you're trying to swim in this pool, there will be kids jumping off the waterfall. And it's not a diving pool. And, God forbid anybody crack their head or anything. I mean, it's not even a lap pool, it's just a chill pool. And it was so wonderful to have it at the beginning. But again, they infiltrated this complex with these, you know, lower than low administration, and then they allowed no rules at all. No, there's no lifeguard, there's nobody do anything, and people that don't even live there come in there and bring 30 or 40 people into the pool and take it over, so that you don't even get a sane day to swim, especially on a weekend. And it was very sad, but they charge you for that, and they don't let you opt out. Even if you join a gym and don't use either one or the other, they still charge you for it every single month. So here on their website, they give you these virtual tours, and they have 1 and 2 and 3 bedrooms. And the places look beautiful and amazing. Some of them are renovated and they're all newly done and they're beautiful. And the rest are black marble. And uh, again, those look like they would be nice, except that they have bugs there, and the bugs crawl on the black marble and you can't even see them. And I'm thinking if you can get a virtual tour here. I'm not sure. But when I moved in, it was one place, and when I left, it was another. So they're showing you this beautiful place and giving you this virtual tour of the model. And so, of course, they make it look amazing. And you're paying prime rent here. And I was paying super high rent because when I got there, it was in 2022, there were not many vacancies and rents were really high. And then they hardly had any bottom floor apartments. And all of these particular complexes don't have anything but stairs to climb. And so at my age, I needed to get a first floor. So I was really limited. But anyways, they appear like super beautiful, but that's not the reality. So let me go show you what conditions were actually like while I lived there because I put them in here. So you basically have to rent a garage. And the reason you rent a garage, for the first part is they had me rent a garage because they said to me, well, you only want a 2 bedroom, but all we have available is a 3 bedroom. Why don't you pull everything you have out of storage? We'll give you a garage and then we'll give you you'll have the extra bedroom and then you won't have the apartment and that. And so that was the stupidest move I ever made. But for the first year I was there, it worked out fine. You want to know why? Because the management there sprayed the area for bugs and pests, and there weren't any. And they kept everything clean. And you're looking right here at a skunk that was hidden in what I was discarding and getting ready to put in the dumpster. And overnight, it had climbed into my unit. There wasn't any food in there, but it was just winter and it was cold. And so these were things I was going to put in the trash. And when I got ready to open it up and go pull it to go actually load my car and put it in, that live skunk scared me beyond anything I'd ever known. Because if it sprayed in there, it was going to spray everything that I had, spray the stinky smell between two buildings, which were adjacent to this garage. And all of it would have been like so devastating. So I just sat there and looked at the skunk and freaked out. And I couldn't even say my name when I got out of the garage because I was scared it was going to spray me. And what had happened was when it found out that I found out that it was in there, it just hid more in the stuff I was getting rid of. And so I panicked and didn't know what to do. And I went outside and started to cry. And what happened was I thought it had babies or was hiding or was injured. Like you make up all these stories in your head, like, why is it in there? And we couldn't figure it out. So I ended up having to call like the Pet Humane Society, and they were telling me all the story about skunks. And they were going to come and get it because we all figured it must have been injured because it stayed in there for 8 hours. We tried to feed it to lure it out. We tried putting water out. We put all kinds of, they eat strawberries and they eat things, and we put them all outside the door and it didn't move. And so then when it got dark, we figured, well, maybe it's, afraid to come out in the daylight with all of us here. I sat in my car for 3 hours and had the garage door open and it still didn't come out. So I had gone to, I can't remember some place where it's like for camping and fishing. And they gave me this spray. It's the only thing that repels skunks, and it's coyote urine. And I put it in there to basically stink the skunk out because it can't stand the smell. And that's actually what ultimately worked, just not in the time that I thought it would. It stayed in there and it stayed in there. I stayed in my car. It didn't come out. Finally, about midnight, I called, that humane people again. And they were like, all right, we'll come out and get it. I just want you to get a picture of it, make sure it's not dead. We need to know, are we going to cage it or, is it dead or whatever? And I went in and I opened the garage door and it was gone. And we were like, how did it get out after I closed the garage? And it turned out there was a little piece under the garage where it was enough for an animal to get through. And when I told management, they actually blamed me, even though the whole first year and the prior years before that, there weren't any animals on the property because they kept it so clean. And they charged for that, but they paid for it. And we didn't have animals, we didn't have rodents, and we had a great trash pickup company. Under the new management, this is what the trash looked like from Friday through Sunday. And they didn't fix it not one day that I lived there in the second year. It was like this every single weekend. Thus the skunks. And Other people said they saw foxes and different animals because there was food. And so this is the hole that the skunk got in through, and the management had to board it up because where that rock is and right there was how it got into my unit and my garage. And again, I was beside myself. I couldn't calm down at all. And I don't care if you're telling me you think you can. I don't think you can. Because when you think of what could happen to you, your car, your business, your family, 2 units of apartments with 15 people, tenants in each, that's a huge thing to think that little skunk is going to spray and smell for how long. And I was just out of my head. And so, and again, here's them leaving, we were supposed to put the trash out on a certain time, and it was supposed to get picked up, and it rarely ever did. And these are animal claws trying to get through it. And this one just has tin cans in it and Coke and whatever. And they were trying to break through and get into it for food. And so once I saw they were trying to get into it, you have to bring your trash back in and carry it yourself to this pile where they don't pick up trash from Friday through Sunday. They have a valet trash that starts Sunday night and then it ends Thursday. And when more people are there for the weekends, the pool, the meeting with their families, this is how they leave the trash. And there's nobody that they could come in and just pay them a certain amount of money and say, shrink you hit the button and you put all the trash down. And they just don't. They left it month after month. Texas is almost 100 degrees on a lot of days and a lot of months. And this stuff is just rotting. And the animals that were there were I've never seen anything like it. This is what it looked like every single week. Now, what happened is I moved and I left, and most my landlord's in New Hampshire. One of them handed me my deposit check when I was leaving, saw the place. Yep, it's perfect. You were a great tenant. If you need a reference, whatever, here's your rent check, your security deposit. And my store that I had closed, same thing. You were a great tenant. We're sorry to see you go. Good luck in retirement. I hope you stay warm and you start to feel better because we know you had arthritis up here, and gone. So then I get to Florida and I wait in a hotel so that I don't get screwed and get a bad landlord like I did in Texas. And I took my time and I took a month, and I am in heaven to where I moved to. I'm so happy. And to see normal and to see lawful people and to see kind people, and people respect the elderly. It was unbelievable. But here's what happened in Texas, and I want Texans to beware. So I don't know if I can make this any bigger right now, but oh, yes, I can. Okay. So here's what they did. Now I left Texas. I had up until the 30th to go. And I didn't want to go that last date because if anything went wrong, I would have been homeless the next day. And so I figured I'll put a week in ahead of time. And I also moved before a Friday and a Saturday because very hard to rent the trucks then and to get the moving companies to move you because they're always booked up in advance. So in August, I booked my movers and I booked the truck, and I booked it to get out on the 24th. And if anything had gone wrong, I could have slept in an air mattress on my floor because I had till the 30th. But here's what happened. Oh, shoot. How do I get that bigger? Okay, hold on. So I wasn't even living there. And what they do at this place called Signature Ridge is they invent a fake electrical bill that's not part of the electric company. They have nothing to do with your electricity. You have to go call and order electricity to have lights on, and you order it from CPS, and they're as expensive as all hell. And that's a whole nother story. Um, and so you get that place, but Signature Ridge doesn't have anything to do with it. So you get this bill saying you owe $1.78 for electricity for after you were gone. And then they add a $50 charge for no reason at all. And they're just extorting it. And they have, I believe they have 132 units, but I could be wrong. They have 32 buildings, and someone told me there's like 15 or 16 apartments in each place. I never went and checked. It's just huge. You can see it in that video that I did, and there's probably a total of whatever it is. It's on acres and acres of land. And everybody drives around in golf carts to show you the place, and to maintenance comes that way. And I mean, it's just a very, very large property. So if they take 5178 and just assume there's 132 apartments, that's about $6,000 per how many people in a given year break their lease and their tenancy. And it could be way more. But here's what Texas does that a lot of people don't know about. When they tack on that fee, they'll give you a certain amount of time to pay your fake bill. You owe nothing on this bill. Nobody does. Oh, here was the due date, 11/6. So I believe what they would have done after 11/6, when they hadn't gotten paid, is tack on their late fee. Late fees for late rent at this place are $130. Whatever the late fee would be for not paying this fake bill, could be that same one, could be $100, $200, whatever. But then what they do when you still don't pay it is they use a third-party billing, which this one is, and then they illegally put it on your credit card, your credit score, and it lowers it. They did it to me over a different fee, same idea. I'll talk about that in a different video, but I got them to take it down. And what they did is they lowered my credit score 66 points by putting up a fake charge that they were trying to make me pay that I didn't know. And that's why I know this is the same tactic, because everyone there is so lawless. All they want is money, and they don't care how they get it, and they don't even let you leave. And a normal landlord should just say, your keys are here. Yeah, we'll come inspect the apartment. There's your deposit check. These idiots, and especially this manager, Kayleen Baril, I guess that's how you say her last name. They demand that, oh, we have 30 days. So they're waiting for your new address so that they can do this to you. So it's now December 8th, 2025. And I had to threaten to call the FBI to get a zero balance receipt, because I said to them, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what the end game is here. I don't like to make assumptions, but you're not doing it to me, and you shouldn't be allowed to do it to anybody. And it's so criminal. I'm calling the FBI, because I tried for 2 months to get a zero balance receipt from Signature Ridge, and they wouldn't do it. And they sent emails to this billing company. And finally today, the billing company sent them an email back saying, we can't do a zero balance because you're the ones that send us who owes what. So if you send us a bill saying they owe that, then we generate this bill. So they set me up knowing who I am and that I would never put up with this, never pay it, and that it would cost them. And they went and did it anyway. And so I'm warning people that I don't know any other place that's doing it like this. I came here and I haven't heard of such a thing. No one has heard of such a thing. I showed them this receipt and they went, what? And I have a signed thing. I made the manager sign to return my keys and whatever, and I made her sign the receipt because I just wanted to make sure they didn't come after me for some kind of a key fee later or a whatever fee. So somewhere in this gigantic paper, I made her sign, and she also made me sign something. And so we did. Here it is. I returned, here it is, if everybody can see it. It's on, she wrote 9/24, but it was actually 8/24. So I returned the pool band, the mailbox keys, and the garage remotes. And what happened is that's, oh, it was 9/24. I'm sorry. I'm getting all my months mixed up. But yeah, and there's her signature, the little whatever, the KB right there. And so on the 25th and the 26th, which is what this bill is for right here, I did not live there and I did not have any keys. And so there's no way I can have electricity. And at the bottom of this bill, it says right here, this is this account generated by Real Page Utility Management, Lakeside Boulevard in Richardson, Texas. Some changes, some charges. I'm sorry, I can't move my face thing here. On this state may be allocated for master property bills from respective electric utility providers. It is not a bill from CPS Energy, which is the energy company. So they're using the CPS Energy logo to say you have to pay for this electricity and you don't. So I I did all my homework on this, but there's a lot of other people that get scared. They think they owe it. They don't want to have anything bad. And so they pay it. And I just wasn't going to. And I'm never going to do something where they're screwing me and stealing. And it shouldn't have taken this long to get it resolved. But it took me filing a complaint with the Better Business Bureau and telling them I'm going to contact the FBI. And the girl that was the manager there, her name is Kayleen. She knew who I was and she did this anyway. And she sort of like breached the deal to have me leave and just let everything go because there was just so much there that happened. It was unfathomable, and I'm still recovering from it. And the one last tidbit, just so people understand, is the sickness that I got from the black mold and whatever caused me to be grinding my teeth. And I had been doing it. And the doctor had said to me, don't grind your teeth. And we were trying to make me stop. But in the night, because I had been so distressed over all of this, and I never recovered from the skunk. I tried to get a different apartment there, but they were going to lose money to get me into a new one of those new units that you're seeing that was newly renovated because the rent they were holding me to was 1,000 a month higher than the newly renovated ones were going for. And they just wanted to trap me. The other way they try to trap people into leases here is they try to charge you like $3,000 if you break your lease or $3,000 if you want to move because they're just into tricking people and they don't care if you're happy and they don't want you to have a better place. They're not into long-term tenants and keeping people. Their turnover was so high. When I moved in the whole first year, there were no empty units. I got the empty unit and someone moved into the one I didn't take, and everybody stayed there for a year. When these people took over, all of a sudden everybody started to bolt and leave. And now I see why. And the only thing that you can do, especially if you're a Texas citizen and resident and you rent, make sure you understand what they're charging you for, because here they're charging you a base rent, then they tack on trash, fake tax, fake water charges, fake sewer charges, fake pool charges, fake insurance, get out of insurance liability thing, 13 a month. And your rent ends up going up from whatever you think you agree to, like more than $150. And that doesn't include your electricity, that doesn't include anything else. My ending charges when I was trying to leave, they hosed me for all this money. And as I was just so mad, I paid it, but I should have fought it then. And it's just something I wish I hadn't let them get away with. But that's why when it came to this, it was the last over the top thing they could even try and do is bother me where I live now with this fake bill and trying to take more money that I don't know. I lost my mind and I'm like, oh, hell no. And so, if this happens to you, and if anybody's a resident of Texas, a resident of Signature Ridge, any complex that's doing this, do not pay the charges. And go see in the Better Business Bureau, there's a whole bunch of complaints. I didn't have time to go over what they all entailed, but there's a lot. And they try to make people not talk. And when you're not supposed to talk about it, the the part of it for you is that it's over. And that would only include the things that were civil. Whenever you're supposed to not be able to say anything, it doesn't include crimes. Um, and this was such a shocking crime that I was so distressed. Here I am over at the beach and trying to get set up and trying to heal and trying to fix my tooth that I lost and whatever. And it's so traumatizing when you lose a tooth. You can't even imagine. And my jaw is like sliding now, and my speech sometimes slurs, and I have to get this fixed. And so it's definitely priority. And in the middle of it all, I can't continue to do the biting and the stress things that I've been doing to let go of what they did to me in here. And I really felt like a hostage in this place, not a tenant. They get you in and they trap you. And the manager is such a person hater. I don't know if she's this way to men or not. She certainly doesn't like women. And she just is so hateful. She knew that this would set me to the nth degree, and she went and did it anyway. What kind of a nutcase does that? You're not right in the head. But the long story short is that um, I'm not going to take it. And I got them finally to say there's a zero balance. But they sent this out in October. So we're in November, December. They stole all my rights and all my peace of mind by trying to control me with screwing me with this bill. And then I had to fear I was going to wake up one day and see it on my credit report again. Same kind of charge as what I had just gotten taken off. And they're lawless. They're absolutely crazy and they're lawless. And so all I can tell people is the biggest fight in my life was to finally learn to stand up for myself and put my foot down and say no. Because we end up putting up with a lot of things. Like I caved the last extortion bill that they had given me, where they just upped all the fees and upped all the charges and upped how much the water usage was and overcharged on everything. And I didn't want to stay and fight. I had given notice, I had rented the truck, I had hired the movers, I paid for it all. It was just too hard to undo, to stay there and fight. But that was over past the last straw that I ever could put up with what they did here. I was robbed here. I had a person peeping Tom me from the back of my thing. I had a person live in my balcony and I didn't even know it. And it's they present it as luxury living and it just isn't. And so they have they have no bottom of what they'll do because they're just categorical thieves. And there hasn't been anybody that's fought them and stopped them. A lot of people leave, but they are screwed on their way in and they're screwed on their way out. And it's all crimes because you're not legally allowed to extort money that nobody owes you. I can't own imagine if I owned a hair salon and I end up telling you you're going to get a haircut. Then I'm going to charge you for the water. I'm going to charge you for the sewer that for the hair that goes down. I'm going to charge you for um the scissors and the scissors getting dull and make up all this stuff, which should be included, factored in to what it costs to get your haircut. But if I say haircut's $50 and then you get a bill for 150, I'm like, oh yeah, I added that and that and that and that and that. You better pay it or I'll call the cops because you owe it. That's insane. But that's what this place does. And so it was so costly to move there And finally I had just had enough. The skunk was what did it, and then getting sick really did it. And I'm still recovering, and I just want that to not happen to anybody else. That will make me feel healed, starting to heal me, saying I stopped them from being able to do this. But on top of that, knowing that I escaped and I'm out. And don't fall for pictures on the internet like that, because I don't know if I could get back there. Let me see. I might screw this whole video up by switching, because I'm so bad at moving myself around in here. But you saw what it was. You can look it up. It's Signature Ridge, and you can see that whole thing that I had. And it isn't like the pictures, and the pool isn't like the pictures. It was a nightmare to meet the sickest people I've ever known in that pool. And they were just bullies. They were bossy. They were dirty. Um, there was no hygiene in there per se. You just shouldn't be dirty and jump in a pool. And worse than that, you shouldn't be allowed to change diapers in a pool and then put your kid's poopy butt back in the water that everybody's swimming in. I've never even seen that. And so I just had to stop using the pool, and I had to sign up with a gym where adults were, and those things didn't happen. And it was just an expensive, horrible stop for me. It was brutal to learn that Texas was such a vile state, and that the people in it were really heartless and, in my opinion, real criminals. And if I ever did one of the things that this manager did in Massachusetts, I would have been fired, and they would have said, "Don't let the door hit you, boom, boom, on the way out." And she's still there. So I don't know if it's commission for how many of these people they get to extort from, and then they get a cut of it. I just don't know. They overcharge so much that it's criminal. And, you can report it to the landlord. There's all kinds of other people that have been reporting it. I put a claim in with the Better Business Bureau with them, and I did it to this billing company. And again, the next step, if they didn't zero this balance, was the FBI, because I was going to have an investigation of how did I probably was in, I think, Alabama or Louisiana by the time this electrical charge happened. How could I have cost them anything when I didn't have keys and I wasn't even in the state? I'd love to have that answer. But they finally gave me enough that they blamed it on Signature Ridge, and she was lying and saying it was the billing company. But they did finally say they're taking it off my account so that it won't then appear 8 or 9 months later as a debt unpaid on my credit report. But that's how criminal they are inside of Texas. And I've never heard of another state doing it, but it's a dark, dark place to live. And the secret that they keep is that they don't want anyone to know how criminal they are. And they're so criminal. And as the days come by, I will be putting out more things that were criminal that happened to me there. You have to relive it when you talk about it. And I just don't feel like doing that all the time. I need to move on. And I have this much time left on the earth. Um, but part of it's healing to know that you saved someone else from that fate. And so this is why I'm putting this out here. And I hope nobody else has this happen to them, because it's a chunk of change. But what they keep doing is they keep stealing chunks of change from every single tenant. There was I forget what nationality these people were, but they showed me their rent bill, and they moved in. I don't remember, but it was about a month or two before I was going to move out. And the management here wanted to upcharge them 175 a month from the year that they had. So I think that a lot of that is a way for them to, if they give you that free month to get you in, they know that if you're gonna, stay there after you paid all to move in and whatever, um, they want to get all of it back really quickly. So they do this thing. So I said to them, you don't have to pay that. That's insane. There's nowhere rent is going up that much. In fact, Texas rents were going down so many thousands of dollars by the time I left, and there were so many vacancies in homes, in houses, in apartments, in complexes. It was like people were fleeing the state. And rents there at Signature Ridge went down $300 a month from when I had been renting. And then again, you saw that thing on their thing, 2 weeks free. There were times this where it was 4 weeks free, and they were luring people in with that, and a lowered rent. And then for me, they were just trying to keep me to the 2022 price, and not allow me to have a current rate at all. So they were horrible. And it was the worst place I've probably lived that I can remember. It just left nothing but anger in my head and my heart, and I have to work to shake it off. But while I was here in Texas as in Florida as a new resident, I was just saying, oh, if you mess with my credit score, I'm going to go out of my mind, and I'm going to not let this up until it's fixed. And I had to we had email after email. And the thing is, they're so crazy that what they do is they inflict all this distress, don't want to pay you a penny for it. Then they go, oh, we weren't trying to distress you. We're sorry. Yeah, you were, sickos, because they're crazy. And they've been getting away with it. So I'm putting this everywhere. YouTube, by the way, I'm finally back on YouTube. And I'm putting it on YouTube, and I'm putting it on all my other channels. So I don't want this to happen to anybody. And I'm trying to make sure that they cannot get away with this anymore. They need to be investigated. They need to stop, and they need to never, ever, ever send me one more thing to this address from them, because I'm not putting up with it, and I'm not paying them another dime. And nobody should, even though it's a tiny little bill compared to what they stole from me, a lot of people will just say, oh, it's just that much, I'll pay it. That's how that company becomes a globalist millionaire, because they just take a little bit of money from each person. And then they have 6,000 a year, then they have 12,000 in 2 years, then they have 18,000 in 3 years. And that's just all untouched money. So, and that's just a sample of what they're taking. Monthly, they're taking so much more than that every month from every tenant on top of the rent. And so, again, so glad I left there, and so glad I left Texas. Don't fall for anything. And if you have this happen to you, you can contact me and let me know. But also, feel free to file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau, and use Signature Ridge, because it's them doing it. The billing company is only receiving from Signature Ridge, oh, they owe this much, and here's the fee, and go collect it. And then collectors, usually third party billers, get half or so. And so for every one of these that they get a collect, they're getting money on their end, and then Signature Ridge is getting money on that end. And it's crazy. But don't give them a penny, especially, my security deposit there was only $350. Up in New Hampshire's, it was a month store rent, and I think my house one was 500. Those aren't amounts to sneeze at. Everyone needs that money. I needed it all to move. I almost left my security deposit behind and let them keep it just to not deal with them again. That's how toxic they were. But once I got here, I talked to my friend. She's like, oh my God, Natasha, they just robbed you to death. You need your deposit back, not only because you didn't damage anything, you left it in great condition, but it's your money. Give them the address, and let them do it. And we ended up doing it. And this is what happened. And then I had another 70 days of distress and connection to these very, very sick people that work here. And they're heartless. And so just beware and don't let anybody screw you, even for $1.